Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture. Bring on the host, Sam, the Queen of Rock and Roll Dogs.
Hello everyone, I'm Sam, the Queen of Rock and Roll Dogs and the host of Vegas Rock Dog Radio. On today's show, I'm talking about moving with your pets, toxins in pet food, and animal news from around the world. So stay right there.
Let's bring on the host, Sam, the Queen of Rock and Roll Dogs.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm your host Sam, the Queen of Rock and Roll Dogs, and this is Vegas Rock Dog Radio. We're a rock and roll show all about pets, people, and pop culture. Good morning everyone. Good morning, Jim.
Hello.
I've got a little bit of echo.
Okay, how about now?
That's better.
There you go.
Yeah, that was a little strange.
Thanks.
Very subtle, but yeah, I know when I don't feel comfortable. Anyway, good morning, everyone. It's Easter weekend. Easter weekend, and I got to go to Passover last night at the rabbi's house. Oh, it was packed, Jim.
Was it?
Yeah, absolutely packed.
Busy. Was it a busy Passover?
It was really busy Passover. I met some wonderful people, some new people, and you were on a gig, so I was solo last night, but it was a fun night, really fun night. So I know it's a very fun weekend for lots of people getting together with family, celebrating Easter. Doing the last night was I'm not Jewish, by the way. I just need to let you know that. So don't expect me to know much about about the Jewish religion.
Apparently, we're kind of.
We're kind of, yeah. We're always over there. Anyway, the whole Easter thing gets me thinking about bunnies and chicks, and it's a big thing here that I wish people didn't do, and that is, they get rabbits for their kids for Easter, and they get those colored dyed baby chicks, and next thing you know, they're all in the shelters and show up in rescues. So it's something to think about. They take a lot of care, and I think you have to go into any kind of bringing any kind of animal into your home. You have to go into it quite seriously, and it's not a gift. Rabbit and baby chicks are not gifts. So there's nothing worse than seeing them showing up in the shelters and the rescues straight after this particular holiday. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a big weekend. I've got to tell you, my sister, by the way, this is Jim.
Yeah, they already know me.
And Mr. Twix and Miss Thornton are in the studio as well today. What was I saying? I was going on with the whole Easter thing and the chicks and the rabbits and then my sister. Okay, so my sister Lee, I have 4 sisters, and Lee has been knitting baby chicks. That's a better gift, but she's been knitting baby chicks that you put a Cadbury's cream egg, basically up its bottom, like an egg cozy, and she's made them for the charity that she works for. I think it's the money's going to go to improving one of the rooms. I think it's a care facility, if I'm not wrong, but it's an actual charity. So her and her friend Julie, she roped her into it, and up to now, I think they've raised about £200 on these little knitted chickens, little chicks with the Cadbury. It comes with the Cadbury's cream egg, by the way, and they've done very, very well.
I found you one too. I sent it to you as a picture.
Oh, where did you send it to? My
messages.
Peeps.
No,
they're disgusting.
It's not Peeps. What is it?
It's a peep in a car.
a race car, a peep driving a race car.
Everything about that makes me want
What's
to throw
the race
up.
car made out
The
of?
race car's made out of a Twinkie. The steering wheel is a pretzel, which is disgusting. I think they're disgusting, especially if it's covered in that. Well, it's not even white chocolate. I don't even know what that is. And then the peeps, which have saccharin in them, by the way, everybody. And what are the wheels made of?
Pieces of Twinkie.
No, the wheels.
I think it's
No, they're not the biscuits. Gross.
vanilla wafers, maybe.
I hope I don't get that for Easter. I'm all about a chocolate.
Oh, no, those are vanilla Oreo
Oh,
wheels.
I'm all about a chocolate Easter egg and good chocolate, by the way. Well, anyway,
No, those peeps look amazing.
Yeah, we've gone on a whole tangent, off on a whole different tangent now. Well, if you are new to the show, welcome to the show. My name's Sam, and I think we're in our 7th year of this show, Jim. Can you believe that? How is that 7 years? Anyway, if you'd like to connect with us elsewhere on the internet, we have, of course, our website, vegasrockdogradio.com, and that's where you can listen to the show live, catch up on an old show as well, all in one spot. But you'll also find us on Periscope, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr, and Instagram. And we do have a blog, and the blog is therockandrolldog.com. If you do miss an episode and you're a podcast listener, we throw it up after the show, unedited, just as we are every week. And you can find us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spoke by SiriusXM, Spotify, and any other podcast app you may have on your phone. Just search Vegas Rock Dog or Vegas Rock Dog Radio or our pet tip of the day. It's called Pet Tip of the Day Show. Short little tips that will hopefully help you be the best pet parent you can possibly be. So I'm going to move. Right. So have you ever done this? You're totally fine and you get off the sofa. Next thing you know, you've hurt your back. That was me this week. So I've had a heat pack on for a couple of days, which actually does help once I get moving. Oh, I just dropped it. Once I get moving out and about, but in the morning, horrible. So I've had a heat pack on. Except what's inside this heat pack, Jim?
Buckwheat.
And you know what?
And if you heat it more than 1 minute and 10 seconds, you cook the buckwheats.
Where
you
did you come up with the 1 minute 10 seconds? You just
I
made
learned,
that up.
I learned the way to get it hot without overcooking it. That's what I learned.
You want it to last, you see. Anyway, it's burning my back a tiny bit, and it smells burnt. So I think I'm going to buy a brand new one that's not made of buckwheat. Yeah? Hang on. I'm going to have to pull my chair forward. It's probably going to make a noise in the studio. Just a little bit. Okay, so let's do a little weekly update. If you follow me on Facebook, on Vegas Rock Dog Radio, you will see that I posted, and I regularly post updates for Galgos del Sol, which is the rescue in Spain, not far from my mum's house. Tina runs it. Anyway, I'm going to make this very, very short, but basically the hunters out there, and this is a long-standing, history of hunting. After the season, the hunters don't keep their dogs. They don't want to maintain them till the rest of the year. It's a very short hunting season. And what they do is they dump these dogs, but they typically injure the dogs, so the dogs can't get back to them. It's horrible. I won't go into detail. Just know it's horrific, and this is why I support what she does, because every dog she pulls in is on the street, found in dumpsters, injured legs. Well, anyway, oh my gosh, this cute little Galgos came in, and they named her Crumpet. Yeah, gosh, I'm burning my back with this buckwheat, and
Overcooked it.
And her 2 front legs were broken in 2, and although she was trying to walk, it was absolutely heartbreaking. She was crawling. I don't know how she survived on the streets to that point. Anyway, luckily, and it was a sigh of relief, like, whoa, thank goodness she's in Tina's rescue. Very next day, into surgery. They showed you the x-rays. Clean breaks on both front legs. Clean breaks. Horrible. Just horrible. Anyway, pretty big surgery she had, and within 2 weeks, she is doing wonderfully well. She's running around. She's still got her bandages on. She had casts and then she had bandages and stuff. And she's doing so well. And she's learning how to play. And she's learning how to get cuddles and give cuddles. And just absolutely wonderful. And I've just put another update on my Facebook page. So if you'd like to go over there, and if you'd like to make a donation, I've actually put a link on there. Tina's work is phenomenal. And when you see, as I say, she's not just getting, someone says, oh, I don't want my dog, here's my dog, and put it in a rescue. They're all injured. It's horrible. They're all injured, and huge expenses. But she has tell you something, she's got a brilliant team of veterinarians. I've never seen veterinarians go to that length for animals, and the array of treatments they have available is mind blowing. And it's funny because I've had a couple of people say, "Well, if I can get the dog to the States, we can get it surgery here." And I go, "Oh no, the dogs are getting the best care you could ever imagine." I would say probably better than what's available in some cities over here, in all honesty. So I'm very pleased that this update is so positive. But what a terrible start for that little thing. But she's adorable. I mean, really adorable. So there's the update on Crumpet at Galgos del Sol. And Tina has a brilliant way of naming the dogs that come in. And she always seems to pick a perfect name for them. So very, very happy about that. Update on notebooks. I've always got an update because this week I released 2 versions of the dog mum and the dog mom, which I can't say it. Can you say it, Jim?
Dog mom.
I say dog mum because we have people that follow me and want notebooks, based on how they spell things and say things. So we've got 2 versions of the dog mum and mom, can't say it, journal. And it's up and it's live on Amazon and it's adorable. It really is adorable. So if you're a dog mum and you want one for yourself, buy one for yourself. If you know a dog mum that would love one, it's got it's got a floral wreath on the front. It's really adorable and a paw print. Then, they're great for gifts, especially with American Mother's Day coming up in May, I think. But you don't always have to wait for a holiday to buy a gift. You can just buy one for whatever reason. Anyway, so that's my update on that. Here's a little update, Jim. I did a survey yesterday. Hello.
Okay.
I did a survey.
And what was the survey?
My survey was, do you like to go to the dog park or not? And it was, nope, it stresses me out. And yes, it's fun. Well, guess what the percentages were, Jim?
Most people say no.
75% of people said, nope, don't like it.
We like to go when we're on our, only if we're the only ones there.
Exactly. Exactly. So when people were messaging and commenting, and here were the comments. It's the people. It's not the dogs. It's the people. And so here's my advice. I said, don't be that person. Get off your phone, watch your dogs, pick up your poo. Those things irritate people. Beyond, and it makes you feel very uncomfortable because if you're not watching your dog, how are you even in control of your dog? How can you stop something from happening? How can you intercept? How do you know their dog's done a big poo and you haven't picked it up? Let's be engaged with our pets. I think you're missing out. You are missing out if you don't engage with your pets. Why go to the park? For what? So you can check your social media? No, the dog park is for the dog and the dog walk is for the dog. So, yes, don't be that person. Yeah, 75% to 25%. It makes you wonder, what would be perfect? What is Mr. Twix doing? He's making a lot of noise. He's making loads of noise in the studio.
Tina is over there doing that.
Oh, it's her?
Where is he?
Oh, gosh, what are they like? You'll hear all...
Under you somewhere.
Oh, is he? You'll hear all kinds of things in the studio. You've got dogs in the studio.
Where is he?
I don't know. I can't see him in the studio. He was here, though.
I can't see him.
Why don't you stand up?
He's not in here.
You haven't let him out.
He's hiding somewhere.
No, he's not. Look under here.
No.
Why don't you stand up? Look at the studio.
Oh, my goodness.
Where is he?
He's
under the poang.
between that and your light.
He loves a tiny space. He loves
just
a
all
tiny
curled
little
up.
space, all curled up. He does. He loves
He's like
it.
hibernating.
Don't you? Last night, I thought, I know if I let the dogs in after they had a wee late last night, then I can't find him. Same thing. I'm looking all over. Well, my guest room is really their room. And he's decided he's going to sleep in the guest room. Last night, all snuggled up between all the blankets I'd put in there. Made me laugh. Funny. So where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, park survey. So wouldn't it be great, though? Think about this. If city parks had rangers that worked in the dog parks. They work in the dog park, just as the indoor dog parks do, the private ones where people pay to take their pets. Why not have a ranger in the dog park that can monitor people's behavior? I think people would behave a lot better. I think that would be worth the investment.
American people don't like to be monitored.
They
So.
need to be.
No.
They do, because think about how many dog bites
I think that
and
idea.
attacks have happened because those people are not monitoring the pets. Who's making that noise, Jim?
She's licking her paws.
It's really loud. It's really loud. It's really loud. Oh my gosh. They're having one of those days. Mind you, Twix had a very barky day. We've got neighbours have got visitors for the weekend, and he just wanted to. He didn't know who these new people were. He was not happy about that. Like, I don't know your voices in the back garden. He was irritated. He was barking like crazy yesterday. And he finally settled down at the end of the day. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, let's move on to a very interesting email that I got from the people over at Mayflower. Hello?
I had to get back in my seat.
At Mayflower, which is the large moving company. It's probably the largest moving company, isn't it, in the
Very big.
States?
Very big. I think when we were kids, you used to get Mayflower tractor trailers as little toys in your cereal.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, I got an interesting email from them. They run a survey, and it's an in-depth survey about moving. And this one is about moving with your pets. And they said, would you be interested in some of our data? I said, absolutely, I would. It was about 35 pages long. And I think most people know who that company is. And so they survey the people that they've moved. And I say it was rather long, but in depth. And I think that was really, really great. So I got to read the survey and all the data that goes along with it, and the article, and looked at some things. I also asked, communicated back with them and asked a couple more questions. Is this in the survey? Or, did you ask this kind of question? Anyway, they're looking at how people are moving with their pets and really decipher, what they're doing prior to moving, during the move, and after the move. Yeah. So here are some of the observations that I also pulled from the data. And this is their little blurb here. Here's their blurb. So it's a brand new survey. It reveals pet priorities are often equal or more important than human-focused amenities when American dog and cat owners decide on new homes and communities. Overall, pet owners say 1/3 of their overall decision to move was related to their pet. And survey respondents cited willingness to pay significantly more and even forego perks like shorter commutes and updated kitchens in favor of pet-friendly features. The 2019 Mayflower Mover Insights survey released the process of moving or preparing to move with a pet, including just how much pets factor into choices about home and community features. So according to the survey, cat and dog owners who have moved recently say their pet influenced which new home they chose by 39% and which new community they chose by 26%. Additionally, pet owners who plan to move say their pet will influence their choice of home by 48% and their choice of community by 33%. By the way, this survey was done in regions, like West Coast, East Coast, that kind of thing. And so you could see how they varied from regions too, which was very interesting. And pet owners are likely to move in the next 5 years, are willing to pay an average of 32% more each month to get the pet-friendly features they want, such as fenced-in yards, plenty of indoor space as compared to their current monthly housing costs. So they have a little thing here that says kitchen versus canine. Half of future movers, which was 50%, if you don't know what half is, want an updated kitchen. And the other half prioritize a pet-friendly feature. Pet versus place of business. While nearly half, 49% of future movers want to live close to work, the other half, 51%, prioritizes their pet-friendly features in their new home. So the Mayflower survey also found more than 3/4 of past movers and future movers with pets didn't stay close or don't plan to stay close to their current neighborhood or part of town when choosing their next home. Yet, more than 2/3 of past movers tried to stay close to their pet's favorite human and furry friend, their favorite park, and their vet. The pet-related decisions meant more than staying near their old neighborhood. So in the last few years, they said, we've heard more and more from our customers about the impact moving has on pets. With every move, we strive to ensure the process is smooth for both our customers and their animals by providing expertise, information, and constant support, said Eli Cummings, and I hope I pronounced that properly, Director of Corporate Communications for Mayflower. So, settling in. Stressful or smooth for Fido and Fluffy? Pets may get the priority for perks when their humans relocate, but moving is still a stressful activity for dogs and cats, and of course, people. Mayflower's survey also shed light on pets' experiences during those moves. Half of pet owners reported their pets struggled to adjust to the new home, especially their feline friends. Nearly 2/3 of all cat owners say their cat had difficulty adjusting. Prior to a move, almost half of pet owners sought information about moving with their pet, including researching online, talking with others who had moved with a pet, or speaking with a vet. To smooth the transition, 8 in 10 pet owners gave their pet extra attention and showed them where things were in the new home. Nearly half of all future owners will introduce their pet to their new home prior to moving in to minimize their dog or cat's stress. And more than half of all survey respondents said that their spouse and partner added or will add more stress to the move than their pet did.
That would be you.
It doesn't. No, I'm very organized. I am so organized. The only thing that would annoy me is if you just didn't follow the plan, because I think of everything.
You mean do as you say?
Yes, basically. And that way, it's efficient and smooth, saves time, no chaos. Here's the thing. They said their partner's going to cause more stress, but in turn, that stress of the partner stresses your pets out too. Yeah. Get it together, people. Get it together. So, however, there's still good news, they said, for pet owners. More than 9 in 10 owners say their pets adjusted to their new setting in less than a month. Personally, I think that's a very long time. And more than 90% of pet owners agree that wherever they and their pets are together is instantly home. And there were some people on there that didn't agree with that statement. I don't know, who are these people? That's why I love surveys. I love data. It's very interesting, real insight into people, how people think. Anyway, Mayflower is America's most recognized and trusted moving company. They move more than, have a guess, how many families do they move a year?
58 million.
40,000 families each year. That was whatever. And has 300 affiliated agents across the country working to provide premier moving experiences for customers and their pets. So here are some other key insights. It's kind of a big article, but I think it's really interesting because I've got some suggestions at the end. Yes. Here are some key insights from their survey. Cat and dog owners who have moved I think I might have repeated myself here. Hang on a minute. Yes, I've just repeated myself. Anyway. Oh, that's so weird. It's just repeated everything I put in my notes here twice, in case you didn't get it the first time. Oh, my gosh. Here we go. So let me... I've done the settling in bit. Oh, here we go. One number, and I did ask them about this prior to actually looking at the entire report, was, did you ask people if they took their pets with them or not? Yeah. So I do think that number is low. So when you look at these, here is a question. When you move next, will you be taking your cat or dog with you? And let's take the overall national total. Will move with a dog or a cat, 77%. Will move with their cat, 52%. Yes, a dog, 46%. Yes, a dog and a cat, 31%. Yes, a cat, 20%. No, 2%. It was 2% nationally. Portland, well, you know what? 2% of 40,000 is 800. 10% is 4,000. 1% is
2% of how much?
40,000. So Portland was 2%. San Diego was 1%. Orlando was 3%.
800 people.
See how good I was? I didn't even need a calculator. That's 800 animals that they're not moving with their animals. That's a lot of animals. That's a lot of animals. And so this is how I feel about that, because we know the number one reason for animals being dumped in rescues and shelters, and I know because from my own personal experience of working with 30 rescues in this town alone, is the number one reason why people get rid of their pets. And I'm actually amazed that people even admitted that, to be honest with you. But it's way more common. So in all honesty, that is probably a much higher percentage. Now, are there any good reasons for not moving with your pet?
Not
I
really.
can't think of one. You know,
Not really.
pets not allowed. Come on, people. I hear it all the time. Oh, yeah, my new place doesn't take pets. So why did you pick a place that doesn't take pets? Why? There are pet-friendly properties everywhere, whether it's a home or whether it's an apartment. No excuses. Military. You know what? You think that's a valid reason too. But you know what? There are some amazing organizations that will foster your pets while you are deployed. And it's brilliant. And if you don't have a family member that won't take care of your pets, that's kind of sad too. Anyway, you're moving overseas. Easy. There are so many ways to move with a pet. Lots of people do it all year round. And there are lots of services available for that. So I still can't think of one good reason to not take your pet when you are moving.
Yeah, unless you're working on a ship.
But again, here's the thing. Here's what happens, yeah? There's a documentary, by the way, that you should all watch. And I've interviewed Hugh Dorigo. He's the documentarian. Dogs, Cats, and Scapegoats. And the scapegoat is someone who suffers the consequences of someone else's misdeeds, they call them. And this is what happens with animals. And your responsibility is yours. Your pet is fully your responsibility. So to dump your pet is you're using it as a scapegoat for your misdeeds. So that number is probably much, much higher. Can't think of one single reason why you would not take your pet on a big move. Unless you're moving into, like, say, a care home, which I get. But here's the thing. There are services for that as well, where people will foster your pet for you and bring your pet to see you every day. Or you've got a family member. So the percentage of people who genuinely, I think, can't take them is super low, genuinely. But yeah, when people say that to me, when people reach out to me and they say, Sam, can you help? Can you get a rescue to take my friend's dog because she's moving and she can't take it with her? And I'm like, I'm so sorry you got such a horrible, irresponsible friend. I'm always a little bit shocked. But you know what? That's the reality of it, and that's what we're dealing with. So out of that, based on those percentages, out of 40,000 people a year, 800 people choose to not take their pets. I think it would be great if they when they do their next one, that it says you're not taking, but why you're not taking your pet. I'd love to know why they're not taking their pet. I think that would be interesting. So I do have some tips for you, my people, because what I got from this survey was people think that just spending more time with the pets is going to fix that stressful problem of moving. I mean, just the packing process is super stressful. Like, what's going on? You're moving stuff in around my house. Things aren't familiar. It's chaotic. There's stress. There's so much that you can do prior to, during, and after. And here are my suggestions. Here's what you need to do. You need to fully research before you move. You need to find your new vet. What if you need a vet as soon as you get there? You're like, I don't have one. I'm scrambling. So you need your new vet. You need to find out where your parks are for your dog if you do a dog park. You need to find your pet store because, what if you didn't bring that much food with you and treats or whatever? And you need to check out the laws to make sure you understand the leash laws where you are. And there was one other thing I was going to say. Yeah, if you've got a dog that needs a groomer, make sure you've got all those things lined up before you move. Stick all your contact information in your phone, or you could buy one of my journals and you can write it all in there. By the way, the personal pet journal is coming soon. I'm close to finishing it. I want to make sure it's super useful to everybody.
PPJ.
Oh, is that what you call it?
Yeah.
But that would be super. That's why I want to make sure this journal is super useful, that you can log everything in there. Now, here's another thing. Before you move, make sure your tags are going to be updated with your new home address and contact information. Did you change your telephone number as well? Have you updated your chip info? Big thing that you need to do. And of course, before you travel, they've got to make sure their collars and their harnesses are on. Now, some people are going to have to stop on the way if they've got a long trip. So book your pet-friendly hotels. There are tons of them. Red Roof Inn is one of them. And I'll put all these links, by the way, in the show notes so that you can find all this information. They take pets. I think, one of the most important things you can ever do. And that is to get your pet used to its carrier weeks before you move. Place the carrier in your home and let your pet go in and out of it at will, and use treats so you can associate the use of the carrier as a positive experience. Then you're going to graduate and you're going to move your pet in the carrier to the car. And you can spend a few moments in the car, minutes in the car, with the carrier door open and treats and making it super positive. And then you'll come back in the house. And you'll do that over and over again. And eventually, you'll extend that time in the car. And then ultimately, you'll go for a little short drive and then a longer drive. And then you also want to work with your pet in the car, giving them food, water, and treats. Because they're going to need to eat and have a little drink and a little snack while you're traveling. So what you're doing is training them into understanding this is a normal activity. This is comfortable. This is fun. And trust me, it will make your move so much better. Also, make sure you have a crash test approved harness or carrier. If you're going to be on the road a long time, the chances of an accident are going to be higher. So you want to make sure that you are in a crash test approved carrier and harness. I recommend Sleepy Pod. Any of their products, crash test approved. You can go to their website. You can actually look at the crash test videos. Beautifully made. Yes, they do cost a little bit more, but they're crash test approved. They're beautifully made. They're functional. And they work. They work. And I think that pet safety is so important. Here's another thing. Need to calm your pet down before you actually start traveling. CBD oil is a fantastic supplement that you can give to your pets. It helps with a lot of things. It helps with car sickness. It helps with stress. It helps them relax. I mean, there are tons and tons of benefits, by the way. But for traveling, absolutely fantastic. So that's something you might want to look into. And then I think this is important. Assign one person only to take care of your pet during the load out of the house, loading everything out. And what's even better is if that person can go and take your dog on a walk, for example, away from the chaos while you move everything into your truck, but one person only. Don't assume people are going to keep an eye on your pet, and with movers in and out, that's how lots of pets get lost. Now, upon your arrival, well, actually, on your way, by the way, you need to do tons and tons of stops for your pets. They need to go to the bathroom. They need a little break. It can be noisy in the car. All those things, you can give them a little break from that. So take your frequent breaks. So when you arrive, you want to be very mindful when you introduce your pet to the home. Just start with a small area. Of course, the bathroom for your pet is going to be important. So set up your litter tray. Take your dog into the garden so they know where to go to the bathroom. Again, use treats, make it fun. And then start introducing them only one room at a time. And I don't mean throughout the day we've done the whole house. Literally, give them their own little room so they can relax while you do all the other stuff in the house, because you don't want to overload them. It's a lot to take in. And make sure your new garden does not have any poisonous plants. You might be moving to a completely different part of the country with different kinds of plants. Just check that it is safe. And you just need to get into a routine. Use lots of treats so your pet can associate your new home as something very positive. Lots of cuddles. And I say just step by step by step. Don't overload. You're already overloaded yourself. Don't overload your pet. And if you, honestly, it'd be worth doing all of these steps. You might think it's a lot, but it's worth doing them all, because there's nothing worse than your pet that's stressed out. You don't want them to take a month to get adjusted. It's a long time. That's a really long time. So there you go. There's my little, so long one, but I think
your
it's
two
important.
pets, if they went to a new house, they would explore every room on their own initiative.
They might do. And Mr. Twix might want to wee on everything.
He might. Well, not really. He's not bad that way.
Somehow he weed on a quilt this week that was actually going to the laundry. And it was the strangest thing. I've never known him do that. Very strange. Strange little boy. Well, I tell you what, let's take a quick break, Jim. We're going to do a quick update on toxins found in pet food and some other news from around the world. So stay right there. We'll be right back. You're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio with me, Sam, your host. And you're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio.
Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Pet Scene Magazine is dedicated to Las Vegas pets and the people who love them. It's a source of news and information for pet lovers, as well as offering valuable coupons and specials on pet products and services. Find them online at www.lvpetscene.com or look for them on Facebook.
Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Welcome back, everyone. Be nice if I had a mic open. It would be nice to have an open mic. Thank you very much, Mr. Jim. Thank you.
It's all right.
So, as I mentioned the first part of the show, I'll probably write a blog post about moving with my tips and tricks with Sam, just to help you out. And I'll put those links in that can help you out, like Red Roof Inn, pet-friendly hotels, that kind of stuff. Right, so let's move on to, it's a new study, just came out, fungi and toxins found in veterinary dog and cat foods from the use of grains. And by grains, we mean rice, wheat, and corn. So this is just a very short description, but I will actually post the entire study. But the contents of mycotoxins measured during the present study did not exceed the permissible levels recommended by the European Commission for animal feed. So this was on animal feed, yeah? It should be taken into account that dry food is currently used as a main component of pet feeding for most of your pet's lives. It means that a long-term intake of medium or high doses of mycotoxins
How's it spelled?
MYCO.
Oh.
Yeah.
You and your big
I want to
words.
say mycotoxins. Myso doesn't sound right. Mycotoxins. I don't like the fact that I don't know how to pronounce that. But if they are found, the medium or high doses of that are found in pet food may entail adverse health effects because these compounds are accumulated in animals' tissue. So that's the key word. It will accumulate. Veterinary diets are applied for shorter periods of time, but the treated animals are weakened and can be more sensitive to more mycotoxins and the influence of them on the body. The reduction of cereals content, mainly wheat and maize, in pet foods and veterinary diets lowers the probability of contamination. In addition, the rice in the diet of animals is less harmful than maize and wheat, thus being a good alternative for replacing the most popular cereals in pet food products. Here's the thing, just avoid it. Avoid it. If that is something that is going to keep accumulating in the body, there are going to be some adverse health effects, and that's not what you need. But I will post the whole study so you can read through the entire thing on there. As you already know, we are raw feeders. We went from preparing raw food, balanced meals, really important. A raw meal is not, or cooking or preparing for your pet is not chicken and rice. It is way more than that. So it's really important that you do know what you're doing when you're actually preparing foods. And there are lots of experts out there that we talk about on the show all the time, like Rodney Habib, Karen Becker, lots of Dr. Judy Morgan, all have recipes for raw or gently cooked food, but it's balanced and a lot goes into it. Think about a recipe that you make for yourself at home, yeah? And how you put so much in there. It's a full-on recipe. But we have recently switched, really for time more than anything, to Answers. And I haven't talked much about Answers, but Answers is raw food. It comes frozen in like a giant milk carton. And they have two types. They have the detailed, which has everything in it that you need. And then the other one, I forgot the name of the other one, but you would supplement, and add maybe goat's milk, fish stock, that kind of thing to that particular food. But the detailed one takes, there's no work. You defrost it and you feed it. And my dogs really like it, but it's raw. And I want to talk more about Answers in a future show because this is a company with a lot of integrity. They're very transparent. The way that their farm animals are raised like true farm animals. None of this, like battery hen type stuff. None of that going on, and they're very accessible. If you've got questions, they get back to you. They're brilliant. And they're very, you can meet them, if you see them at various events. They do a lot of live feeds, lots of Q&A. But I just want to mention that we are raw feeders, so we don't worry about the whole mycotoxins at all, because none of that is present in their food. And if you can get your hands on answers and you're really interested in going raw, but you don't have the time, or you don't want to do all that research into how to formulate the foods, and it's, it can be quite complex, then I do recommend Answers. But we'll do something more on Answers in a future show. Right. Did you hear about this, Jim? The death of a rare 90-year-old turtle after artificial insemination procedure dies.
What?
Yeah, and it's left only 3 in the world.
What?
I know. So researchers lifted a female Yangtze
Chinese
word, Yangtze giant soft-shell turtle out of the water at a zoo in Suzhou in eastern China's Jiangsu province. I got that one right. Researchers, what they were trying to do is, she's the only known female member of the world's rarest turtle species, and she's died at this zoo in southern China following an artificial insemination procedure. And she's 90 years old. She was one of only 4 of these Yangtze giant soft-shell turtles. And where she lived at this zoo, it also housed a male as well. And the other 2 live in Vietnam, but they don't know what their genders are. Maybe it's difficult to figure out what they are. But anyway, the turtle died. And the researchers' attempt at artificial insemination just ended up in the death of this poor thing. It says experts have already used technology to collect the turtle's ovarian tissue for future research. Wow. Well, there might not be any, because there's only 3 left. What if they're all male?
Yep.
Horrible. Anyway, the state-run People's Daily reported that turtle had undergone a 5th attempt at artificial insemination shortly before she died. Gosh. Anyway, the medical examination found the turtle to be in good health prior to the procedure. Yeah. And they said the insemination appeared to go smoothly, but the very next day she died. Wow. 90 years history on a turtle. Gone. Goodness me. Anyway, they originated in China, and they make their homes on the Yangtze River. Yangtze, that sounds like it's American. And Taihu Lake. And the species is often referred to as the most endangered turtle in the world. They're going to investigate the cause of the turtle's death. We'll follow up on that one. It's a sad piece of news. Here's something that struck a little chord with me, and hopefully other people. I follow a fantastic group out of the UK called Canine Arthritis Management. And they just posted a statement the other day, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. They said it's very frustrating to hear from people that their pet is stiff and slowing down just due to age, and that there is no way they're in pain. To this I say that age in itself isn't a disease, and that there is a reason any animal or person for that matter is stiff, limping, or slow to get up. Pain. That's me
just
this
like
week.
You.
That's me this week. I couldn't bend down yesterday. Not because I'm aging. I flipping hurt myself. There was damage there. Anyway, and pain. And he said it's not just getting slow or stiff, becoming more lazy, grumpy or antisocial, starting to put on weight, or no longer being bothered jumping into the car are also really common signs there is actually something wrong, people. Living with your pet every day can make these changes easy to miss or dismiss, as they can develop slowly over months or even years. Being aware of the challenges your pet may face as they get older will help you address issues early, and so keep them as comfortable and healthy as possible, allowing them to age with dignity. And that was a very important message from their Our Pet's Health Dr. Alex Avery, and one we think needs to be shared to get the message out there. Yeah, I agree. It's not a disease. People will accept arthritis in pets, and they are suffering. You need to manage canine arthritis. And for cats, you need to manage that. Why would you not manage that for yourself? Oh, I've just got arthritis. Do something about it. Do the same for your pets. You're their guardians, and you need to do everything. Like one of our friends said, the least you can do for your pet is everything. So think about that. Age is not a disease. What is this little topic I have here? Oh, this one's about cows. But
Do I have to manage your arthritis now? Or your pain, whatever it is? You
no.
slept funny.
I didn't sleep funny. I just stood up off the couch. That's sad, isn't it? That's sad. Let's talk about cows. Let's talk about moo cows. They said, have you heard? Oh, too funny. It turns out cows have feelings too. Really? Of course they do. Anyway, here's a little thing from a little science thing. Moxie had cared for her son for just one day 3 years earlier, but she could immediately sense his presence. So we're talking about a cow here, by the way. The retired dairy cow had just arrived at Vine Sanctuary, a farm animal rescue in Springfield, Vermont. Just as her son Maddox had, she and her son were amongst the hundreds of cattle, chickens, sheep, and others that had, one way or another, slipped free from an industrial apparatus and wound up at this wooded hillside sanctuary. When Maddox came in sight, the sanctuary's co-founder, Patrice Jones, recalls, perhaps it was scent. She looked up and she made this rumbling low moo. As soon as she made that sound, he stopped. They walked very slowly and carefully closer together, and then they touched noses. Were Maddox and Moxie really happy to see one another? Or is it all just instinctive behavior? And if non-human animals can feel emotions, are those emotions anything like ours? A generation ago, animal behaviorists would have dismissed such questions as unobservable and therefore outside the bounds of science. Today, a shift is underway as scientists and society alike begin to recognize a role for non-human animals and their inner mental states. A particularly mechanistic view of animals has prevailed throughout the West, says Emory University primatologist Franz de Waal, and I think we are basically abandoning that view, and that has obvious moral implications. Professor de Waal's bestseller, published in March, Mama's Last Hug, Animal Emotions and What They Tell Us About Ourselves, argues directly for the existence of animal emotions and for animals' humane treatment. There's a very old obsession in the West, and in our religion, of course, that we have souls and animals don't have souls. There's many people who accept evolutionary theory, but they always make an exception for the human mind. This exclusionary view, he says, is becoming increasingly untenable. For one thing, humans and mammals, in addition to sharing the same biology associated with emotions, also often share some of the same basic facial expressions. There's been a lot of research on facial expressions of animals, particularly horses. Stories of animal minds exceeding human expectations usually attract popular attention. I think there's a desire from most people, said Laurie Gruen. She's a philosopher at Wesleyan University, and she specializes in animal ethics. She says to recognize that there's not such a great divide between them and us. An underground railroad of sorts is the next little thing that they write here. The goats and chickens sunning themselves together at the hay at the Vine Sanctuary, along with roughly 500 other residents, including cattle, sheep, doves, parrots, geese, emus, and a few alpacas, represent the charmed few, ambassadors for a radically different way of life for domesticated animals. The animals mingle freely at the 106-acre facility, half of which is set aside as a refuge for local wildlife. And goats offer rides to chickens, alpacas lounge by the hay bales, and sheep and cows approach a strange reporter for head scratches. Just like us, animals like to make friends with people of other species, says MX Jones. Oh, you'll know what I mean when I say MX a little bit later on. This is a strange thing to actually write in an article, but this is just like us. Animals like to make friends with people of other species, says MX Jones, who identifies as non-binary and prefers the gender-neutral title MX. It's an interesting thing to put into the article.
Other types of people species? I thought they're just people.
I don't know. It's a bit strange.
That's weird.
Anyway, the rescue of some of the animals has made the news. I don't know. It just seems... Right, I'm going to just clarify this. It just seems an odd thing to put into an article about animals, unless it relates to it later on. Let's find out. Anyway, the rescue of some animals has made the news, such as 90 or so chickens seized by authorities after a cockfighting ring bust in Northampton, Massachusetts. Others were found abandoned, and MX Jones says, or handed over by farmers who showed mercy. But overall, MX Jones is mix. I don't know how you pronounce that, by the way. I'm just saying MX Jones is wary of describing the networks that deliver the animals as underground railroad of sorts. There have been many kinds of people who are close to the meat and dairy industry who will find ways to bring animals to the sanctuary. And he said MX Jones links animal liberation inextricably with feminism, noting how learning about standard dairy practices, forcibly impregnating cows and taking away offspring after one day was all it took to go vegan. Okay. And it was gut-wrenching to realize it had been participating in such sexualized violence. So there's a shift in thought, and scientists were not always so dismissive of animal emotions. Indeed, Charles Darwin, we all know him, published an entire book in 1872 detailing the continuity. They've not written the right. It's incorrect. The spelling's incorrect. Continuity of emotional expressions between humans and animals. But that changed in the 20th century with the rise of behaviorism, an approach to psychology that eschews concepts like thoughts, feelings, and consciousness in favor of external phenomena that can be observed and measured. During that period, factory farms and vivisection labs proliferated. Anyway, humans thought less of animals in the 20th century than we did before the 20th century, said Kristen Andrews, and she's a philosopher at New York University in Toronto. She said, as we industrialize more and more, we lived farther and farther away from these animals, and that allowed us to forget that they are minded and feeling beings. And humans were probably happy to accept behaviorism. We were being told that animals don't feel anything. So in this study of human psychology, behaviorism began to lose its preeminence in the 1960s with the advent of the so-called cognitive revolution, which began to systematically study phenomena like memory and attention in animal behavior. The shift away from behaviorism was around about the mid-1990s. The 1990s, do you realize that's 30 years ago? No, 80 years ago. 1990s, sorry. Oh, 19... yeah. It's 30 years ago.
You said 80.
No, 1990s.
You said 80 years ago.
No, I know I did. Because I was thinking mid-century. That's what I was thinking. But still 30 years ago. Oh, my gosh. We sort of lost track of animal emotions for a century. It's a long time to lose track, isn't it? But since then, a shift back towards a recognition of inner lives of animals has accompanied a shift in policy. In 1997, the European Union ratified a treaty recognizing animal sentience, and New Zealand and several European countries have been banned using great apes in invasion experiments. And in the United States, invasive testing on chimpanzees came to an end in 2015, not that long ago. What else have we got? Let me pull out of here what I like on this article itself. This is quite interesting a little bit. So in the early 2000s, chimps were still being used in research, and Dr. Gruen says she would often talk to other philosophers and activists and those who were in the chimp world that maybe in our lifetimes we could stop it. And then it stopped, she said. It stopped way before I thought it would stop. But Dr. Andrews suggests that factory farms will soon follow. It's too expensive for the industry to keep all these animals alive, and they're putting a lot of money into fake meat, and thus they are. Is it Foster Farms? No. What's the chicken company?
Foster Farms.
No, there's another one.
Oh.
Another big one. Anyway,
Purdue.
I've never heard of that.
Mm.
Chicken meat that you buy at the
that's
grocery store.
That's another chicken company.
Never heard of it.
Butterball Purdue.
No, it's none of them.
One of them.
I've forgotten. It's a big name, though. It's a really big name. But anyway, they are, and I've seen it myself now. They are... Oh, this is so weird. It looks like it put my double notes in twice. This is so bizarro. They're putting money into fake meat, into lab meat. Fake meat is your plant-based. The lab meat is from the cells of a chicken. They don't kill it. They take the cells and they grow the meat and other kinds of alternative proteins. And, it's a big movement. It's a very big movement. So in closing, on their terms, when we compare animal emotions with our own, are we losing something? Alexandra Horowitz, a psychologist who specializes in canine cognitive and behavior, cautions against anthropomorphizing animals.
Yeah,
Animals
you're
in our
glad
lives.
you're having a good success rate with your big words today.
Yeah. It seems to me presumptuous in the extreme to assume that cows' emotions are exactly like ours, said Horowitz. And, this person has written a dog book called Being a Dog and Our Dogs Ourselves. And, that one's coming out September this year. But she said, rather that the cows show me without my prejudgment what that emotion is. Well, okay. She's Dr. Gruen, though, she says we tend to ignore differences. When we try to assimilate all other animals into a sort of a human framework, we're missing out on a whole range of other things that are not just beautiful and wondrous, but valuable. And very, very interesting. But they said, Dr. Horowitz also says that the growing recognition of inner lives of animals is cause for hope. Now that we're tending to non-human animals at all, really, as opposed to seeing them as nuisances or just as functionaries for our purposes, it could change. I think it's an act of desperation to hope for that, but that's where I think we are. Here's the thing: the Bon Marché research in the UK, they observe to improve animal welfare. They do observe animals and how their behavior and facial recognition and behavior towards other animals. And that way they can then put recommendations forward how we improve animal welfare. So it's being studied. It's absolutely being studied. And I think anyone that has animals can say, yeah, of course they have emotions. Like right now, Thornton is not her usual self because of pollen. We've got a crazy pollen problem right now. It's horrible. And, she's itching. So she's expressing to me that she's not comfortable. She's not completely happy. How did I pick that up? I didn't make it up. I observed her. I'm like, she's not herself. She's not herself. And so what I've noticed is when she doesn't feel well, she doesn't want to cuddle that much, does she, Jim?
No, she wants to do her thing.
She wants to, leave me alone. But the minute she feels fine, she wants cuddles. So there definitely are a lot of emotions with our animals. And I think anyone that's got a pet in their home can recognize that. But so we need to do the same. Spend more time with cows and sheep. You'll soon figure it out. But yeah, it's. I think it's really important that we do start thinking about animals in a different way. But sometimes I see stuff online and I think, gosh, are we going backwards? The way some people are with their animals is not right. Not right at all. And that that slogan, every home deserves an animal. No, they don't. There's some horrible people that should never have an animal. Should never have an animal in their home. But that's one of those taglines, which, if you watch the documentary, like I talked about earlier with Hugh Dorigo, he talks about these taglines that people latch onto and then don't even think what they really mean. And his documentary, his interview, I will post the link for our interview. It was very interesting, made me rethink a lot of things and change my view on some things, especially when it comes to animal rescue. But a very, very good documentary. It's not graphic or anything like that. It's quite sobering. It's the facts. And I asked him, why did you put this together? He said, I had such frustration with many aspects of animals and how they're shuffled around. It's a shuffling game. You shuffle them around. They say the likelihood of a pet staying in the home is only 50% for the rest of its life.
Wow.
And so he talks about this shuffling game. We shuffle it into, dump it at a rescue or a shelter. Then it gets picked up by a rescue, gets shuffled around again. And that means that more animals get shuffled into the shelter. It's just a weird game of moving animals around. Then it gets adopted, so it's shuffled again, and then maybe they want the pet after a certain period of time, or it got old, or they didn't want to pay for medical bills, or they were moving, and it gets shuffled again. And it's a very, very interesting documentary. And he said, I just wanted to put everything together and address all these myths, these taglines, the reality of rescue and shelters. But you know what I find interesting, Jim? We're not impacting people. Yeah, we're saving animals, but we're not changing people and how people are with animals. We're not educating people enough. That's where the problem lies, is with the people. It's not the animals. The animals aren't the problem. And so it's a very interesting documentary.
Yeah, the problem's the people.
Yeah. I think you've got to try and get to the root of the problem. And of course, you cannot go and make someone change, but you can present them with information. Like so many times I was saying People contact me, Sam, can you get, if a rescue will take this dog? My friend's moving, they can't take their pet. And the fact that I actually say, I'm really sorry, you've got a very irresponsible friend. I feel very sad for that pet, but maybe it should get into a better home, because clearly that's not the best home. And it does make people think when I say that. That's the reality of it. You've got an irresponsible friend, and now you're trying to help your irresponsible friend out. Huh? Now you're asking me, and I'm a complete stranger to your friend.
The problem has spread.
It has. And so now you want me to help, and I'm a total stranger to that friend. And I've said that before. I said, so you're trying to help your irresponsible friend solve her problem. Now you want me to solve the problem? And she doesn't. I don't even know this person. Like, what? This is crazy. And for anyone that does just dump their pet at a rescue or a shelter, you need to make a big fat donation for taking care of your problem. And trust me, whatever you donate will never cover the amount of money and time that goes into trying to find a home for your pet. But I think there needs to be more. There's a disconnect, and there's even a disconnect with rescues, and I work with them. There's a disconnect from the person that's used their pet as the scapegoat for whatever the reason is. And there's a disconnect that, because all they do is focus on the animal. Oh my God, we're going to get in a home, and we'll take it in, and blah, 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 blah. But you've got shelters that won't tell people the reality of dumping an animal. They will not say, by the way, the percentage of animals that get a home is this before we euthanize. Oh no, don't do that. Don't upset people. And that's where I think we've got a problem as well. You have got to be realistic. You've got to say, here's a little information thing. I'm just going to run through the bullet points with you. Only 45% of our animals get a home. Dogs. Only 87% of our cats get a home, which at one point with the statistics here in Vegas at our shelter, it was really high. And I think you need to let people know that. They go, they'll feel really bad. Okay. That might be the lesson. That might be the one thing they go, oh, I can't leave my pet here. I'll figure something out. Or they may dump their pet and they go, I'll never get another pet again. And that's a good thing too, because if you can't look after him, don't have him. So I think there's that documentary makes you think a lot, the disconnect, and that we're not addressing the problem of the people. There's not enough education out there. There's not enough laws for abandonment and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of work to be done. I'd say I have a bird's eye view because I work with so many rescues. So anything to add to that, Jim?
No, I don't think so. This Mr. Twix is on his back with his legs spread out right now.
Oh, is he showing all his bits?
Yeah, he's completely
I would say he's showing his meat and 2 veg, but there's no veg anymore. There's no veg. It's such an English thing. My sister, when he got fixed, she wrote a poem. She's brilliant. She can write. She's brilliant. She wrote such a funny poem about his twig and berries. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Like, where's my twig and berries? My berries gone. It was really funny. I should find that and post that too. Well, there we go. Well, that's the whole show for today. So I will put together a blog post about helping your pets with a very stressful move. And let me tell you, the more you're organized, the more you know that you've worked with your pet, the less stress you're going to be as well. And then just have a word with your spouse. Just say, don't add more stress to the situation. We don't need it right now. But I'll give you all those tips and all those links in a blog post and also in the show notes as well. What else did we talk about today? Think about that veterinarian food and how those toxins will accumulate if you keep feeding it. We don't want to impact your pet's health in any way. And remember, aging is not a disease. Aging is not disease. And if you notice that your pet is slowing down because of pain, and they don't want to jump up and they don't want to run as much, or they're stiff after a long walk, really start to address that. Make them very comfortable. There are all kinds of things you can do, exercise-wise, ramps so they don't have to jump. CBD oil is a great one for arthritis. Talking to your vet, what you can do. Lots you can do there to actually make your pets more comfortable. Don't let them be uncomfortable as they do get older, and decrease the quality of their life. And of course, let's remember, cows have feelings too. just like the rest of us. So you've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio. I say we're a rock and roll show all about pets, people, and pop culture. If you've loved the show, please share it. I'm sure, and I do know this from the stats, that most of our people listen on their phone. So you can share directly to your social media networks. Tell everybody about the show, what you've learned from the show. And that's our goal every single week, is to make sure that you come away with something. And remember, you can help an animal in need, either rescue, adopt, donate, volunteer, or share an animal's information who needs to find a home. Rescue your next family member and replace the word shop with adopt. And be kind to all animals. That's important, not just one breed, one species. Be kind to all animals. Thank you, Jim. Pushing the buttons. Laughing at my pronunciation of the long Chinese words today.
Yeah, well, I got through it after a long weekend so far. So, yeah, we're good.
You've done well. And please take a moment, everyone, to like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Don't forget to post pictures of your pets on our page. We love to see your fur babies. Don't forget their names. Most people forget their names, but I love to see the pictures. Thank you again, Jem. Really appreciate it. Thank you to you, the listeners. Biggest part of the show every single week. And today you've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio. It's all about our pets, people, and pop culture. I'm your host, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs. And always kiss your pets good morning and good night. And I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture. You've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Visit Vegas Rock Dog Radio for more information. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And subscribe on iTunes and iHeartRadio. And remember, give your fur babies a big kiss from me, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs. You must not rely on the information in this broadcast from our host as an alternative to medical advice from your veterinarian. If you have any specific questions about a medical matter regarding your pets, you should consult your veterinarian or specialist.